Okay, a very good afternoon to everyone. Hope everyone's enjoying all the discussions today. This panel is going to focus on something interesting. It's the delicate balance between pushing the boundaries of innovation in marketing AI against the very real ethical and responsible concerns of protecting Indonesian consumers' rights and privacy in that backdrop. Can we go to the slide before, please? Is there another slide? Okay, we'll start with this slide, which is just to share a little bit about the progress. Yes, this is the one. How many people have seen this before? It's called the jagged frontier. So the red line indicates the advancements of AI systems. The black line is about human abilities. So if you see at the very top, if you have tasks inside the frontier, AI is exceeding human abilities. That's like Gen AI, building many creatives. But the second one, humans are actually still performing better. Complex reasoning, for example. Okay, next slide, please. And this is just to reinforce that point. Yeah. The complex reasoning and code generation are still tasks that AI is not better than humans. Hopefully that's a reassuring thought to all of us here, right? Okay, next slide, please. So with that, I'd like to open up the discussion to our panel. We have a really great panel of distinguished industry experts who are already deploying AI in the context of marketing in Indonesia today. First off, I'd like to start with Elvira from Dentsu. It's been almost 2 years since ChatGPT was publicly released for use. How does dentsu see the range of AI applications in marketing, and what is your experience so far?
Thank you, Alvin. And it's great to be here. I think last year I was also discussing about AI, but from different company. But it's exciting because I think over the last 1 year, we've been learning about AI. We've been trying to adopt AI. We're experimenting as well. And a couple of things that, from my observation, that how AI actually give benefit. But also I think because we are in the early days of learning about AI, there are some challenges as well that we face. Maybe if you can help to pull the slides. The other one? The other one? So there's a plus and minus on how AI being adopted and marketing. And I think what we've learned so far, like for example, you've known how I think today there's a couple of solutions that has been, being applied with a lot of marketers, especially on getting the campaign getting much more efficient, for example. And I think a couple of solutions on how can we generate more assets, on creative. But then again, I think the other challenges when it comes to adopting AI is actually, I don't know whether some of you heard about the recent buzz and noises about how Adobe stopped. There's some infringement of copyrights recently, and how big companies actually try to, put the legal terms within their TNC, but then it is something that people felt that it's not really fair. So a lot of noises around that, and I think, I don't know whether we have the slides, but I want to show some picture where when you try to key in, an instruction on AI, sometimes the Gen AI, visualize it in a different way. But I think there are things that, we learn so far from AI. I think the other plus things that I see from applying AI, so last September, we were actually inviting, our dentsu Japan colleague to one of the big event in Indonesia called Idea Fest. So we want to learn from Japan actually on how they actually use AI in marketing. And I think we learned a lot from him. Like, in the past 1 year, marketers actually focus on getting much more efficiency from AI, getting the campaign as much more effective on media, on creative as well. But then we forget like how can AI help the brands to empower people or society, give back to society. We call it purpose-driven marketing. And this has not been applied that much in Indonesia, so that's why we learned from Japan. And a couple of interesting cases that we saw, like for example, how people in Japan actually use AI to help people with disabilities, and make them possible in doing things. Like for example, some people that cannot be that visually impaired, for example, they can still enjoying soccer match, but then our team in Japan actually they empower solutions that allowing them to do that. So I think those are that I felt that a plus point when it comes to AI, Alvin, and I'm hoping to see more plus positive things that comes from AI.
Thank you for that interesting insight. Maybe moving on to Pak Soon Nam from Telkomsel. How does Telkomsel ensure a balance between ad personalization and responsible AI practices?
Yeah, thank you, Arvin, and thank you very much for having me here. It's indeed an honor to be here to share some of our learning experience. And I want to just qualify that, like many of us, we are in the process of taking advantage of AI. So I want to share that we are now also humbly learning the challenges that we face with using AI. I think the biggest challenge for us, in the advertising space is we want to, target as many customers as possible in as many relevant and contextual manner. And that's how a company like us in doing advertising for our client are being paid click to revenue. The more click, you get paid more. So we want to, advertise. And of course, in the past, we've been using our own analytics and to target the customer. With AI, things can be more productive. You need less people. You can do lots of things quickly. You can blast people non-stop. But that's not what we want to do. I think at the end of the day, we need to be responsible not only to ourselves, but to our brand as well. Maintaining their brand safety, maintaining integrity, those are important things. And in doing so, within Telkomsel, we have a what I call ethical framework, where we will make sure that we do proper targeting, and we make sure that we do not abuse what we have, and we make sure that there's no bias. One of the key challenges of AI is bias. You train them differently, they could speak language which is very offensive. They could do things that is very racist. I think that's a real thing. Try proposing for example, weight reduction medicine to a lady. You are, what are you telling her, If you are real good doing your advertising segmenting, don't do that, yeah? So to some may be okay, but I think to some other, they feel offended. Or even advertising thing that is racially not appropriate. I think these are things that we are very mindful. At the end of the day, it's not about making money. It's at the end of the day, we must represent our brand well. That they don't feel that we're not taking care of their interests. I think that's the balance. So making money is good. Increasing the click to reach is good. But also do so responsibly. I think that's what our ethical framework is guiding us. Yeah.
Thanks so much, Soon Nam. I think oftentimes we think about the data privacy implications. We forget about the biases and weights in the algorithms. That's a very good point. Moving to about Jayant, what does Accenture define as running a responsible AI campaign for your client engagements today?
Thanks, Alvin. It's a pleasure, honor to be here. I think in Accenture, what we are trying to do in, if I may call it the decade or the decades of AI-led marketing, what we're trying to do is to enable companies, brands, anybody that wants to connect with their consumers to operate at the unit of one. So to me, the next decade of marketing is not personalization, but the journey from personalization to personal. Now, the minute you use the word personal, then immediately the next step that comes is responsibility, right? So I think we are building a lot of AI models because the minute you go to a unit of one, means you're going to have a lot of data because now you're considering every consumer, every target to be one, and then you're multiplying it. So there's a lot of data that requires and can use AI for its benefit. So we're building dynamic feedback loops to improve campaign optimization. We are building enriched AI models to have precision targeting that can operate at the unit of one. But all of this data to operate requires a very significant level of intelligence by the machine. Now, intelligence by the machine has to be mixed. So we're not trying to make super agents to do this. We are trying to use AI to make superhumans, which means the consciousness that Rohit was talking about this morning on stage, intelligence has to be combined with consciousness. That consciousness comes from the superhumans that we create using the AI frontier. Because they are the ones who have to answer the tough questions. Tough questions is the AI model exploiting the vulnerabilities that we are causing by predicting personality traits? Are we inferring emotions and using them? Are we creating social scoring or social evaluations? And all of these we have to stay away from. And I think that's where we get the superhuman aspect come in.
Fascinating response. Let's go a little bit deeper and specific. Back to Bu Elvira. You know, AI offers a lot of exciting opportunities for marketers, but it also has challenges. What are some of the ethical risks associated with AI in marketing that dentsu has seen in Indonesia today?
Thanks, Alvin. I think Pak Sunam and also Jayant kind of like mentioned it. There's four things that we see that coming, like the challenges and also the risk when it comes to applying AI in marketing. I think the first one, Pak Sunam mentioned that there is actually still a possible bias and some discrimination. And I think that will still require us as a human to kind of like, train the machine learning, train the, the input, making sure that we put the right input. Because I think that is still possible and we are still seeing that and we are actually learning on how to avoid that. The second one, of course, the privacy matters, the data consent, making sure that when you run a campaign and consumer actually submit their data, how can you protect that data? And then I think the third one, this is a lot of practices that we see, when it comes to lack of transparency. I think a lot of people say that when I use AI, it's sort of like a black box, where finally the AI made the decision on what kind of content that finally revealed or served to the consumer, right? And we are actually expecting by seeing that decision, we can also learn, what's actually the rationale behind it. However, in some of the cases, we are not able to see what is actually the rationale behind it. So there's kind of like, a lack of transparency when it comes to using AI. I think the fourth one, this is very close to when it comes to agency and how client actually expect us when it comes to using AI. So I think most of the marketers expect when we use AI, of course, the cost and efficiency should be there. But then I think in some cases, using AI can actually create higher costs when it comes to running it. So I think today we saw from Paraho's presentation, there's always a question whether you want to do 1,000 assets or 10 assets, for example. But I think on this case, it's very important for marketers for not using AI just for the sake of, it's sexy and exciting. I think at the end, what is actually the goal for you to apply that, be clear on that, so then you can focus on the goal rather than the excitement itself. Yeah. So
Yeah. I think point 3 and point 4 is very interesting, especially explainability, because those of us who are in sensitive industries like healthcare or fintech, transparency in the models of the tools you use is going to be very important. All right, maybe to Pak Soon Nam again. Are there any real-world examples of Telkomsel using a Digi Ads campaign and how AI is helping to improve the effectiveness in Indonesia today?
Well, in AI, actually, now that with AI we can speed up many things very quickly, but there lies the danger as well. While speed is good, but the speed also creates risk. And therefore, for us, particularly in the recent time, we've started in the advertising space to collaborate with people. Telkomsel does have lots of data, but we think, in this digital advertising space, we need to collaborate. We collaborate with partner. And when we collaborate with partner, I think there's another challenges. How are we going to ensure that data privacy is maintained? How do we ensure that PDPL are being maintained? And so for us, in real world, as we introduce what we call the data clean room, we are now able to ensure that we protect the privacy of the customer. We use the data clean room to, we anonymize the data, we bring data together. At the end of the day, we can be more targeted, we have more relevance, more contextual targeting. So that, in many ways, help our brand to increase their efficiency. At the same time, not at the expense of data privacy, at the same time, not at the expense of, sometimes we call spray gun advertising. You just spray everybody. And I know some of you get upset, you get SMS non-stop, relevant or irrelevant. But by the way, that's not my doing. Telkomsel is a communication channel. We are neutral, but there are people out there who abuse. Much as we like to stop, we cannot, because we are a communication channel. Who are we to read into the content and stop you, stop that? Because if I do that, tomorrow you'll be coming after me. So we have to be very, very mindful. But what we can do as a responsible party, as we help to improve the efficiency, it is our responsibility to ensure that we don't abuse it. So our brand have already experienced the efficiency improvement by about 25%. And in fact, through our framework, we're able to improve the CTR by 2 to 3 times. So I think that to us is a real world experience in us using AI. I mean, in parting, I say this to all of us in this world, especially in marketing. Use AI because we experience it internally. It helps us in our efficiency. We experiencing it in bringing value to our client. And in all aspects, end to end, it's the right thing to do, but do it responsibility and not create mistrust by your client, by your brand, that they continue to trust you. Not only you help them to grow, but help them to grow and protect their brand reputation, their brand safety. I think that's the key message.
Yeah, very reassuring to hear that from Telkomsel. Over to Pak Jayant again. A little bit of a sexy question here. How does Accenture see consumer adoption of AI technologies accelerating since the news yesterday, if some of you have heard, there's a public announcement between Accenture, Indosat, and Lintasar?
So I think it's a hot topic. The hot topic across the world, not only in Indonesia, is sovereign AI. And why is sovereign AI important? I think as countries like Indonesia get on their high path, right, to grow to 8% economic growth, and to become a high-value nation, it cannot be done by outsourcing intelligence. Indonesia very soon has to become a net exporter as opposed to a net importer of intelligence. And sovereign AI is the foundation that creates that intelligence to be groomed locally. Now, there obviously, in terms of adoption, I think Indonesia does not, the challenge is not the availability of technologies. The challenge that Indonesia has is availability of skilled resources that can deploy to become superhuman and to not only to consume that intelligence, but contribute back to the intelligence. And sovereign AI is one very important way in which you can do it, right? That provides, sovereign AI provides low latency to do things. It provides digital autonomy to Indonesia as a nation. And those are very important aspects in building a truly net export AI country, which to where Indonesia stands today is extremely, extremely critical.
Yeah, sovereign AI is a very important topic. I just want to open up if anyone else on the panel would like to say their point of view on sovereign AI.
Maybe, Elvira, I add my view. Yeah? Sovereign AI is a great end game. I mean, for any country, it's a great end game. I think the challenge is how do you execute it in a manner you maintain a balance in trade-off? What does sovereign AI mean? Oh, you want the data to be in-country, you want to have your own expertise, you want to build your AI capability, everything that confined within the geography of the country so that you can protect, you can ensure national security. I think those are the right thing to do. The question is, how do you execute and implement it timely and in a manner that you don't leave yourself outside the corridor? What do I mean by that? Now, if you close it and shut it too early, if you don't have the capability and know-how, then I think that will be a big problem. You will not be able to leverage on the development, the R&D, the improvement, and so on and so forth. So my view is that in implementing sovereign AI, there are several steps. The first step about data sovereignty, that's important because you want to make sure that all data are kept. And I think that is good. But bear in mind also, recently I spoke to someone about data sovereignty and we want everything to be in Indonesia. Okay, can be done. You build your data center, you build your AI cloud. Now you got to invest a huge amount of it. Your cost went up. But if you have cloud outside Indonesia, fine, that's good. Cost is cheap. So now it's an issue about cost and data sovereignty. So again, you need to balance. So at every step of it, I think as you look at it, you need to balance what is critical. I think end game is correct. So the key is in execution. That happened not just for a country, but even for a company. I think that's my view.
Thank you. This is the lightning round. Last questions. Elvira, how can companies, brands, agencies ensure they are developing and deploying AI in an ethical and responsible manner? In particular, since this is a marketing forum, in sensitive areas like creative industries, intellectual property.
I think you mentioned it on the, I think we discussed about responsible AI. Actually, there's ethical AI and also responsible AI. I think ethical AI is more like how, in principle, we are being mindful when we use AI. But then responsible AI is something that we as marketers can actually, start doing and thinking about it. There's 4 things actually that we can do, especially in the scope of marketing. One, despite us, all the excitement of AI, it's very important that we have a human to oversight on whatever that we do. I think a couple of previous speakers, including Pak Anies as well, already reminded everyone that AI is actually it's really good, but we need to make sure that it's elevate the people, not replacing people. And I think it's very key to have a skill to level up the skill of our people when it comes to using AI, adopting it, but then we need to make sure that human oversight should be there. The second one is actually when it comes to creative fields, we need to be careful because especially when it comes to art, music, there's IP. Even though in Indonesia the IP policy is not really clear, but just be mindful that there are people that actually creates that. So I think IP IP infringement whenever you do campaigns. Just check with your legal how can it should be compliant, and making sure that we are protecting that part. I think the other part is actually aligning with brand values and brand goals. At the end, it's back to what, ask yourself, like why you are actually doing this. Back to the goal. It should not be just something that is sexy or just for winning an award, for example, but making sure it's actually giving back to your brand, giving back to your businesses. I don't know whether you can pull this slide. I have a QR code about ethical AI. Oh, there you go.
Okay.
That you can scan. This is released by Merkel this year. The white paper on ethical AI. So if anyone wants to learn more about ethical AI, feel free to scan the QR code.
Thank you, Elvira. Pak Soon Nam, real quick, what concrete steps is Telkomsel taking to comply with Undang-Undang PDP?
You ask me difficult question. Well, I think, for us, data privacy is important, and in the work that we do, we have a consent principle that in every channel where we are collecting data or where we are using data, we give the customer an option to opt in and opt out, and that apply to all channels. And also, as I mentioned earlier on just now about AI as well, ethical AI, responsible AI, we don't just leave it everything to the machine. At the end, where we think that they are biased, we will have people who intervene. And we put in place some framework, and I mentioned about it just now. And we also have this thing called Population Stability Index, PSI, that we track whether there's bias or not. So at every step, right from the beginning to the collection, to seeking consent, to seeking usage of data, and finally intervening it wherever we see challenges, we put in place. So in a way, we put in place an end-to-end process to just manage that.
Thank you so much, Soon Nam. And with that, we conclude. Thank you to our distinguished panelists. Thank you to the audience for your attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to the moderator and all speakers. Please kindly remain on stage for the photograph session. In the count of 3, 1, 2, and 3. Once again, in the count of 3, 1, 2, and 3. Cheers! Thank you very much once again.